a miracle.
Fine, it's a miracle. It's a miracle. And this is your second one. Wow. Oh, I always thought miracles were rare things. What makes you so special?
Hi, this is the Professional Amateur Hour coming to you with another review. This week, Leo sent me The Shift, and this 2023 film was directed by Brock Hesley and stars Kristoffer Polaha, Neal McDonough, and Sean Astin, among others, of course. The story of this movie takes place in this multiverse, and there's this one guy, and he's a good guy, and he has a wife and a family, and he's having his best life, of course. But the other versions of him in the multiverse are all bad guys. And it turns out that there is like a president to the multiverse, or one of the verses in the multiverse that can actually, travel dimensions. So he goes around and asks this guy to be his muscle and join his army. And they all say yes, except for, of course, our main character. Instead, what he does is he prays to God and poof, the evil guy is gone. But because of that, he is now stuck in that dimension. And because that evil guy was also like the president of that dimension, everything just kind of slips into poverty and no one's having a good time and things like that. What will happen though? Well, for that, you gotta watch the movie and find out. Alright, so let's discuss this movie. Well, with this one, it is a sci-fi movie. I thought certainly the sci-fi elements worked with it. It being a multiverse and him being stuck in one multiverse but can't get back to the other one. And then they have technology where they can kind of shift between verses, but they also have like theater where they can see in between verses and things, but you can only see yourself in different verses. And I thought that was all interesting. I don't know. It was certainly an aspect that, does intrigue me, I thought, especially with, the possibility of a multiverse out there. What are the other Professional Amateur Hours doing, So yeah, that was certainly intriguing. Also, with this movie, it is a religious movie, surprisingly. And I didn't know that going in. So I was kind of pleasantly surprised about it. At one point, I was just there oh, it's a religious movie. Oh, that makes so much sense now. And it's kind of interesting how they kind of cover that as well. It's basically the Book of Job. And so he even is in this multiverse where his multiverse doesn't have, or at least the one he's stuck in doesn't have this religion. So he's kind of trying to get the Bible into this multiverse, and he's just writing out pages, but he can't remember it, so it's just kind of paraphrasing all of the stories. And I don't know, it's kind of interesting that way, especially if you're a religious person. I think that would be even more interesting to see kind of this interpretation. I personally am not a religious person, but I did kind of find certain aspects of that interesting, and we'll certainly maybe talk about it in the other half as well. But yeah, certainly the religious aspect does add some intrigue as well. In addition, I enjoyed seeing the famous faces in this one. They have Sean, who was in Lord of the Rings, not as Frodo, but as Frodo's best friend Sam. And so seeing him in this one and how his character kind of works out, I thought that was really fun. You have Neal, and he just, is dripping with coolness the whole way through, so it's fun to see him. And they're acting well as well. I think actually everyone kind of does a good job in this one. So that certainly is a plus. And so yeah, seeing that type of stuff, I think does work. And that brings me to what doesn't work with this one. Well, I did find it a little bit hard to get into. The first 15 minutes is all kind of building up the relationship between, the main character and his wife to really kind of give him a motivating factor when it's all, taken away from him. And I don't know, it just was a little bit slow. Usually sci-fi stuff starts off with some big action piece, and that's always, what really kind of attracts you. So getting into it, it's a slow start. You do get into it when Neal's character shows up and really kind of starts messing with things, and you're really kind of into what he's doing as well. So if you can, get through the first 15 minutes, you'll probably enjoy the rest of it. Especially kind of with the dystopia that they've created for themselves. It's, relatively interesting. In addition, with this one, I'll talk about the religious aspect of it again. With this one, I'm not a religious person, so the religious aspect kind of came off as preachy a little bit. I don't know, it just seems like God could do anything but nothing at the same time. And I thought with the multiverse, doesn't that kind of nullify these religions? I can just go to another multiverse where I'm God and then, do stuff differently. I don't know. It just seemed like that wasn't kind of connected to what these religions, preach. Other than that, the character of God, I don't know, doesn't seem like very consistent. Like, he solves some problems, but not all problems. And why doesn't he do that? Who knows, right? So just kind of that aspect of it, I think, is like a double-edged sword with this movie. Depending on the viewer, they'll probably really love it if you're, a religious person. If you're not, it's going to come off as preachy. It's going to come off as kind of silly. So, it is a double-edged sword that way. As for my recommendation, well, certainly if you're a Christian, I would say check it out. It's a really interesting story for you. Brings in science fiction elements as well as that religiosity. And so that certainly has a unique blend, I would say. Something that you certainly don't see that often. So if that sounds like something you want to watch, then press play on this one. Even if you're a non-religious person, maybe you want to watch it as well. Certainly picking apart, the problems with it, or at least, the religious aspect of it might be interesting as well. As for a rating, well, I'll give it the average score of 5. After all, it's pretty average, I would say. Not any one way, either way. I'm pretty sure there's going to be lots of love out there for it, but also lots of hate out there for it. So I'm just going to give it the 5. It was decent enough. I don't know what to tell you. And with that being said, I think that's all I wanted to say. So like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.